My name is Elias Papaioannou and I'm a professor of economics at the London Business School. Today I will present ongoing work with Giorgio Chiovelli in the University of Montevideo, Etienne Rossignol at the University of Namur and Stelios Michalopoulos at the University of Brown on private colonization in Africa. Our starting point is that colonialism, in sharp contrast to what people think, was mostly outcarried by private companies who, granting concessions from the colonial administration, were the conduits of imperial rule in much of Africa. In the first part of our analysis, we will present mappings documenting the practices and the operations of around 2,000 private companies that operated in Africa throughout the colonial period. We trace not only those companies in the cross-section, but also over time, also recording their practices, so whether they were applying forced labor practices or their investments such as building railroads or roads. In the second part of our analysis, we exploit the origins of this type of colonization. Thirdly, we assess the lasting effects of those colonial concessions on contemporary development, blending the newly compiled historical dataset with contemporary proxies of well-being such as education, health, satellite imagery on light density at night. We find that this colonial paradigm has a significant imprint in contemporary Africa, with the more extractive concessionary companies, those that applied brutal policies and practices, being associated with lower structural transformation and lower levels of education and well-being, while those companies, mainly operating in the late phase of colonization, that proceeded with some significant for-growth investments like building schools, clinics, core infrastructure, tend to go hand with higher levels of structural transformation today. Lastly, we blend those results in a spatial setting to try to move from the local into the aggregate effects. Finally, this project, despite its historical focus, speaks to one of the most salient issues of the African development paradigm today. Over the past 2 decades, African countries have resorted and have gone back to this old colonial paradigm of granting large concessions, assigning large swaths of land associated with mineral or agricultural wealth into private companies, often backed by foreign powers, mainly European but also increasingly so Chinese. So it is actually quite fascinating to study this historical precedent just because its legacy and its practice have resurfaced in contemporary Africa.